Hello everyone and welcome to my General Hospital Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Trina suspects, Ava's surprising visitor Jocelyn, Christina's retaliation. According to Monday, February 24th General Hospital spoilers, Trina Robinson believes Jocelyn Jacks is holding back, and Ava Jerome will receive a surprise guest. Here's what viewers should anticipate, as Christina Corinthos Davis will also want retribution. After receiving information on all the Cyrus Renaud drama, Sonny Corinthos will visit GH. Sonny stopping by to see how Lucky Spencer is doing will be greatly appreciated by Laura Collins. Laura will eventually discuss their brother's terrible deeds with Martin Gray. Martin and Laura will worry that there might be further issues with Cyrus remaining at large because they won't be aware that he is dead. Dante Falconeri will then tell Alexis Davis the most recent Cyrus news, allowing them to discuss Cyrus' distorted perception that he was putting an end to his victim's suffering. Naturally, Sam McCall and Dex Heller's situation changed because they obstructed Cyrus' path. Dante and Alexis will go over everything, including any unanswered doubts she may have concerning Cyrus' entire plan. Given that Cyrus disappeared without a trace, Alexis and Dante can also think about the potential that Jason Morgan killed him. Jason may be the person Anna Devane calls and invites to visit the PCPD, since she should also consider that. It is easy to understand that, given the situation, Anna would doubt Jason. Fans of GH, however, are aware that Jocelyn is the one who removed Cyrus from the map. Jocelyn was the one who covered it up for Jack Brennan, but he's expecting on her to do her share and remain silent. Since her mother called to ask for Carly Spencer, Trina will encourage Jocelyn to give her a call at Bobby's. Although Jocelyn will act as though she misplaced her phone, Trina will think it strange that Joss is so willing to give up and purchase a new one. Jocelyn will be put on the spot after Trina presses her to tell her the truth about what actually transpired last night. Jocelyn should honor her pledge to Brennan to keep her lips shut, even though she will wriggle over Trina's inquiries. Jocelyn would most likely argue that she wants to hear more about her Valentine's Day with Kai Taylor in order to divert Trina's attention. As she may discuss her developing emotions and her attempts to understand them, Trina will in fact confide in Joss. When Quinn disparages Trina, Kai will become agitated. Kai will stand up for Trina and put Quinn in his place because she has been such a tremendous support system for him since his injury. According to other General Hospital rumors, Brooke Lynn Quartermain's admission that she told Harrison Chase about her adolescent pregnancy and the subsequent adoption would shock Lois Cerullo. Lois might emphasize that it's a bad idea if Brooke Lynn makes any indications about perhaps finding her grown child. Lois does not want anyone to discover that Brooke Lynn and Dante's son is Giovanni Gio Palmieri. Christina, who will never again have faith in the justice system, will quarrel with Molly Lansing Davis in another scene. If Cyrus comes up in this conversation, Christina might wish he's gone because Jason got rid of him. Though Christina might view Jason as the most plausible candidate and pretend that he did the world a favor, it was actually Jocelyn. Nevertheless, as Ava was exempt from punishment in court, Christina's grievance with the legal system will be more about her. Now that Sonny has agreed to a custody arrangement, Molly might start to worry that Christina will somehow target Ava. Will Christina surprise Ava at home when she receives an unexpected guest later? Stay in to find out what Christina might have planned for Ava, as our predictions suggest that she may have a few surprises in store. Jason was set up to kill Cyrus, but Drew refused to provide an alibi? Rumors and spoilers for General Hospital tease Jason Morgan might be entangled in a web of lies and set up to kill Cyrus Renaud. Jason was going to Drew Quartermain's residence at the time after first visiting Sam McCall's cemetery. After finding nothing in the cabin, Anna suspects Jason. Following a thorough search of the cabin believed to be Cyrus' hiding place by Anna Devane, Dante Falconeri, and the forensics team, they discovered nothing. Jordan Ashford discovered a connection between Cyrus and the Gatlin family in her files, which provided the clue. They next searched through the properties of the late Austin Gatlin Holt, much like Jocelyn Jacks had done. Anna is aware that only one person, not Cyrus and most definitely not Jocelyn, could completely clean up a crime scene without leaving any evidence behind. Despite her warnings, Anna believes Jason killed Cyrus and disappeared his body. Following his failed truce with Drew, Jason arrives at the Quartermain mansion. For the sake of Sam's and their children's memories, It is quite close to the period when Jason was with Drew and Jocelyn would have been at the cabin, attempting to make amends. He headed to the main Quartermain house after his disagreement with Drew and the failed truce, where he entered on the heels of another argument. Tracy Quartermain spoke as Sasha Corbin was departing, but only Drew saw him approach and speak to him before he left the cemetery. Although Jocelyn acted in self-defense, Jack Brennan had done a very good job of hiding her crime scene. It was just impossible to prove. There's a good chance that Brennan plans to frame Jason, and Drew might even be complicit. Jason is surrounded by walls. Brennan might have positioned the wiped gun in Cyrus's body, so that Jason would appear to be the murderer. But more often than not, he will simply leave everything in its current state, with the body and the gun concealed in their last hiding spots, or perhaps even destroy the gun. Actually, Brennan had wanted Jason to work for the WSB, but he didn't trust Brennan, therefore Jason didn't want to be involved. It would probably be as an assassin. As the walls close in, Drew refuses to provide Jason an alibi, and Anna isn't suspicious that he's being set up. Perhaps Sasha and Tracy can recall his visit to the Q mansion, but that was after Cyrus disappeared. What effect will Sonny's clear health status have on his plans to return home? According to General Hospital spoilers, Sonny Corinthos will be alright. After he has this operation to repair the scar tissue from being shot decades ago, his subsequent cardiac issues should be resolved. We can't quite explain why this lesson struck Sonny now after he's been taught it so many times, but it doesn't mean he hasn't learned anything worthwhile in the process. What does the mob boss have ahead of him? Will he still make plans to escape the life of a mobster? Will he give up his drug trafficking career and spend the remainder of his life, whatever long it may be, as an ordinary Port Charles resident? Is that even a possibility for him? General Hospital spoilers. He might take a different turn. Sonny had previously discussed the future of the business with Jason Morgan in a very candid manner before leaving for Los Angeles to find out what lay ahead for him. Retirement was inevitable, he felt sure. His adversaries had to keep his ill health a secret or else they would take advantage of it and turn against him and his family. But does this imply that Sonny will put his previous worries aside and choose to carry on as usual now that he's returning home feeling stronger than ever? Hint for GH spoilers: Jason can't get out. For Sonny, realizing that Jason wouldn't be his way out of business was a lightbulb moment. It's possible that he didn't give it much attention in the past, or that he always imagined Jason would step up when it was his turn to retire, but now things are different. Jason is Danny's only provider since Sam McCall passed away, and he doesn't want to put him in any more danger than his chosen vocation has already put him in, nor does he want to risk Danny losing his only father. It must be someone else if Sonny gives the torch to someone else. General Hospital spoilers. He's helpless without power. Sonny's dismantling of his empire carries some risk. He and the people he cares about the most might be attacked if he does this. Do you recall when Sonny washed up at Nixon Falls, Pennsylvania, after falling into the river and losing his memory? If it were that simple, Carly Spencer could have just left the company at that moment, but doing so would have jeopardized the safety of her family. How then is Sonny able to abandon the company now? What occurs if he passes away at some point? Cyrus. An additional unexpected death. Let's just say that the critics have voiced their displeasure, and they have done it quite clearly. General Hospital spoilers. Cyrus, another unexpected casualty. We're talking about Cyrus's death in General Hospital, of course. Actor Jeff Kober made a suggestion in an interview with Soap Opera Digest that he wanted to continue in the series, but it was obvious that the writers had other ideas for his role. Many fans are now questioning if it was a wise idea to kill off Cyrus. After all, one of the most gifted actors Port Charles has seen in a long time is Jeff Kober. Naturally, a lot of General Hospital viewers and reviewers had a lot to say about the plot and Cyrus's departure from the program on social media. Another unacceptable casualty in this ongoing saga was one of the remarks that were made. This is how they bid this actor/character farewell. I hope they would change the plot of this story. Wow, just wow. I thought he was wanting to leave, but that wasn't the case, wrote another critic. I wish they hadn't put Cyrus in a situation where he would have to be either put in jail or put out of business. I'm sorry to see him go. Please bring him back and allow him to have a twin sibling. Let this be a dream scene even better. One of my favorites is at Jeff Kober. He is captivating on screen. General Hospital spoilers. Port Charles's upcoming events? Never say never, she added. But for the time being I wish there had been a way to keep him on. He should be in a padded cell at Ferncliff. They could have had him hold Liz hostage and had PCPD come. However, Jeff did a fantastic job in his parts. It's sad to see him go. Ava's unexpected visitor Trina suspects Jocelyn Christina's revenge. The sun had just begun to set, casting a golden hue over Port Charles. Ava Jerome sat in her luxurious penthouse, sipping a glass of red wine as she gazed out at the city skyline. The day had been uneventful, but something in the air felt off. She couldn't quite put her finger on it, but her instincts told her that trouble was brewing. Little did she know, her quiet evening was about to be interrupted by an unexpected visitor. The sound of the doorbell startled her. Ava frowned, setting her glass down on the marble countertop. She wasn't expecting anyone, and few people had access to her private elevator. Cautiously, she approached the door and peered through the peephole. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw who was standing on the other side. Christina! Ava muttered under her breath, her mind racing. Christina Corinthos Davis was the last person she expected to see. The two had a complicated history to say the least. Ava hesitated for a moment before opening the door, forcing a polite smile onto her face. Christina, what a surprise, Ava said, her tone carefully neutral. To what do I owe the pleasure? Christina stepped inside without waiting for an invitation, her expression unreadable. She glanced around the penthouse, taking in the opulent decor before turning her attention back to Ava. We need to talk, she said simply, her voice firm. Ava raised an eyebrow, crossing her arms over her chest. About what exactly? Christina's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Ava thought she saw a flicker of anger in them. But just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone, replaced by a cool, calculating gaze. About Jocelyn, Christina said. And Trina. And the mess you've created. Ava's stomach churned, but she kept her composure. I have no idea what you're talking about, she replied, though her mind was racing. What did Christina know? And how much trouble was she in? Meanwhile, across town, Trina Robinson was pacing back and forth in her apartment, her thoughts a tangled mess. She had been trying to make sense of the strange events of the past few days, but nothing added up. It all started when she received an anonymous text message warning her to stay away from Jocelyn Jacks. At first, she had dismissed it as a prank, but then things took a darker turn. Trina's car had been vandalized, and she had found a note tucked under the windshield wiper. The message was short but chilling. Back off or else. She had no idea who was behind it, but her suspicions immediately turned to Jocelyn. The two had been friends for years, but lately, their relationship had become strained. Trina couldn't shake the feeling that Jocelyn was hiding something. Determined to get answers, Trina decided to confront Jocelyn. She grabbed her phone and sent a quick text. We need to talk. Now. A few minutes later, Jocelyn replied, agreeing to meet at Kelly's diner. When Trina arrived, Jocelyn was already seated in a booth, sipping a milkshake. She looked up as Trina approached, her expression guarded. Hey, Jocelyn said, her voice hesitant. What's going on? Trina slid into the booth across from her, her eyes narrowing. That's what I want to know, she said. Someone's been threatening me, Jocelyn. And I think it's you. Jocelyn's eyes widened in shock. Me? Trina, I would never do something like that. You're my best friend. Are you sure about that? Trina shot back, her voice rising. Because ever since you started spending all your time with Dex, you've been acting weird. And now this. It's too much of a coincidence. Jocelyn shook her head, her frustration evident. I don't know what you're talking about, Trina. I swear I have nothing to do with this. But if someone's threatening you, we need to figure out who it is. Trina studied Jocelyn's face, searching for any sign of deception. She wanted to believe her friend, but the doubt lingered. Fine, she said finally. But if I find out you're lying to me, Jocelyn, our friendship is over. Back at Ava's penthouse, the tension between her and Christina was palpable. Christina had taken a seat on the couch, her arms crossed as she stared Ava down. Let's cut the games, Ava, she said. I know what you've been up to. You've been manipulating Jocelyn and Trina, trying to drive a wedge between them. Why? Ava's heart raced, but she forced herself to remain calm. I don't know what you're talking about, she said, though her voice wavered slightly. I haven't done anything. Christina leaned forward, her eyes blazing. Don't lie to me, Ava. I've seen the texts. I know you've been using a burner phone to send those threats to Trina. And I know you've been feeding Jocelyn lies about Trina to turn her against her. What I don't understand is why. What do you have to gain from this? Ava's mind raced as she tried to come up with a plausible explanation. She couldn't let Christina find out the truth. Not yet. You're wrong, she said finally. I haven't been doing anything. Someone's trying to frame me. Christina let out a bitter laugh. Nice try, Ava. But I'm not buying it. You've always been a master manipulator, and this is just another one of your schemes. But this time you've gone too far. Trina and Jocelyn are just kids. They don't deserve to be caught up in your mess. Ava's patience snapped. You think you're so clever, don't you? She spat, her voice rising. But you have no idea what's really going on. This isn't about Trina or Jocelyn. This is about you. Christina's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? Ava took a step closer, her expression dark. You've been meddling in my life for years, Christina. Always judging me, always trying to take me down. Well, I'm done playing nice. If you want a war, you've got one. Christina stood, her fists clenched at her sides. You're delusional, Ava. This isn't about me. This is about your twisted need for control. But I'm not going to let you hurt anyone else. If you don't back off, I'll make sure everyone knows the truth about you. Ava smirked, though her heart was pounding. Go ahead, she said. But remember, Christina, I'm not the only one with secrets. If you come after me, I'll make sure your life comes crashing down too. The two women stared each other down, the air thick with tension. Neither was willing to back down, and it was clear that this confrontation was far from over. As the night wore on, Trina found herself unable to shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. She had left the diner feeling more confused than ever. Jocelyn had seemed sincere, but Trina couldn't ignore the evidence. Someone was targeting her and she needed to find out who. Her thoughts turned to Ava. The woman had always been a wild card, and Trina couldn't help but wonder if she was involved. But why would Ava want to drive a wedge between her and Jocelyn? It didn't make sense. Determined to get answers, Trina decided to pay Ava a visit. She arrived at the penthouse just as Christina was leaving. The two women exchanged a tense glance, but neither said a word. Trina hesitated for a moment before knocking on the door. Ava opened it, her expression one of surprise. Trina, she said, forcing a smile. What brings you here? Trina stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. I need to talk to you, she said. About Jocelyn. And the threats. Ava's heart sank, but she kept her composure. Of course, she said. Come in. Let's talk. As Trina began to explain her suspicions, Ava listened carefully, her mind racing. She knew she was walking a fine line, and one wrong move could bring everything crashing down. But she also knew that she couldn't let Trina, or anyone else, stand in her way. Meanwhile, Christina was already plotting her next move. She had underestimated Ava, but she wasn't about to make the same mistake twice. If Ava wanted a war, Christina was ready to give her one. But this time she would be the one calling the shots. As she walked away from the penthouse, Christina pulled out her phone and sent a quick text. It's done. She took the bait. A moment later she received a reply. Good. Let's see how she handles the fallout. Christina smiled to herself as she slipped her phone back into her pocket. Ava Jerome had no idea what was coming, but she was about to find out. And when she did, Christina would be there to make sure she paid for every single one of her sins. The stage was set, and the players were in position. Ava, Trina, Jocelyn, and Christina were all caught in a web of lies, secrets, and betrayal. As the night deepened, the tension in Port Charles reached a boiling point. And when the dust finally settled, nothing would ever be the same again. Jason framed for Cyrus murder. Drew won't give an alibi. The small town of Willow Creek was known for its quiet streets, close-knit community, and the occasional scandal that would ripple through its otherwise peaceful existence. But nothing could have prepared the townsfolk for the storm that followed the murder of Cyrus Blackwood, a wealthy businessman with a reputation for both philanthropy and ruthlessness. Cyrus was found dead in his study, a single gunshot wound to the chest, and the evidence pointed squarely at Jason Miller, a local handyman with a troubled past. What made the case even more intriguing was the silence of Drew Carter, Jason's best friend, who refused to provide an alibi that could exonerate him. The victim, Cyrus Blackwood. Cyrus Blackwood was a man of contradictions. To the public, he was a generous benefactor, funding local schools, community centers, and even the annual Willow Creek Harvest Festival. But behind closed doors, Cyrus was a shrewd businessman who had made his fortune through questionable deals and cutthroat tactics. He had enemies both in the corporate world and within his own family. His death sent shockwaves through the town, and the police were under immense pressure to solve the case quickly. The accused, Jason Miller. Jason Miller was the kind of man who flew under the radar. A handyman by trade, he was known for his quiet demeanor and willingness to help anyone in need. But Jason had a past that he couldn't escape. A decade earlier, he had been involved in a bar fight that left a man severely injured. Though he claimed self-defense, the incident had left a stain on his reputation. When Cyrus's murder investigation began, Jason's name came up almost immediately. His fingerprints were found in Cyrus's study, and witnesses claimed they had seen him arguing with Cyrus the day before the murder. Jason insisted on his innocence. He admitted to being in Cyrus's study but claimed he was there to fix a broken window. As for the argument, he said it was about unpaid work. Cyrus had hired him to do repairs around the estate but had refused to pay the full amount. Jason's story was plausible, but without an alibi, the evidence against him was damning. Drew Carter had been Jason's best friend since childhood. They had grown up together in Willow Creek, sharing everything from secrets to dreams. Drew was the kind of person who always had Jason's back no matter what. So when Jason was arrested for Cyrus's murder, everyone expected Drew to come forward with an alibi. But he didn't. Drew's silence was deafening. He refused to speak to the police, to Jason's lawyer, or even to Jason himself. Rumors began to swirl. Some said Drew had his own reasons for wanting Cyrus dead. Others speculated that he was protecting someone else. But the most painful theory was that Drew had betrayed Jason, framing him for the murder to save himself. The investigation unfolds. As the investigation progressed, the police uncovered more details that seemed to implicate Jason. A gun matching the murder weapon was found in his toolbox, and a neighbor claimed to have seen him near Cyrus's estate on the night of the murder. But there were also inconsistencies. The gun had no fingerprints, and the neighbor's testimony was shaky at best. Jason's lawyer argued that the evidence was circumstantial, and that the real killer was still at large. Meanwhile, Drew's behavior became increasingly suspicious. He was seen meeting with Cyrus's business partner, Victor Langston, in secret. Victor was known to have had a falling out with Cyrus over a failed business deal, and some speculated that he had a motive for the murder. But without Drew's cooperation, the police couldn't connect the dots. The moral dilemma. At the heart of the case was a moral dilemma that gripped the town. If Drew knew something that could exonerate Jason, why wouldn't he speak up? Was he protecting himself, or was there something more sinister at play? The question tore the community apart. Some believed Jason was guilty and that Drew's silence was a sign of his complicity. Others thought Drew was being coerced or blackmailed into keeping quiet. For Jason, the betrayal was unbearable. He had always trusted Drew, and the thought that his best friend could abandon him in his darkest hour was almost too much to bear. As he sat in his jail cell, Jason replayed every memory of their friendship, searching for clues that might explain Drew's actions. But the answers eluded him. The trial. The trial was a media sensation. Reporters from across the state descended on Willow Creek, turning the courtroom into a circus. The prosecution painted Jason as a desperate man with a history of violence, while the defense argued that he was being framed by someone with a grudge against Cyrus. Drew's absence from the witness stand was a glaring omission, and the jury couldn't ignore it. In the end, the lack of an alibi proved to be Jason's undoing. Despite the defense's efforts to cast doubt on the evidence, the jury found him guilty of second-degree murder. As the judge handed down the sentence, 25 years to life, Jason looked out into the courtroom searching for Drew. But his best friend was nowhere to be found. The aftermath. The verdict left Willow Creek divided. Some believed justice had been served, while others were convinced that an innocent man had been sent to prison. For Drew, the guilt was overwhelming. He had watched as Jason was convicted, knowing that he could have changed the outcome with a single word. But he couldn't bring himself to speak. The secret he was hiding was too dangerous, too personal. As the years passed, the case faded from the headlines, but the scars it left behind never healed. Jason's family continued to fight for his release, filing appeals and petitioning for a new trial. Drew, meanwhile, became a recluse, haunted by the choices he had made. He knew that one day the truth would come out, and he would have to face the consequences. The truth revealed. 5 years after Jason's conviction, a breakthrough in the case finally came. A new witness came forward, claiming to have seen Victor Langston arguing with Cyrus on the night of the murder. The witness also revealed that Drew had been present, acting as a mediator between the two men. This new evidence cast doubt on Jason's guilt and prompted a reopening of the case. As the investigation resumed, Drew was forced to confront his past. He finally broke his silence, confessing that he had been blackmailed by Victor into keeping quiet. Victor had threatened to expose a secret from Drew's past, a secret that could ruin his life. Fearing for his future, Drew had chosen to protect himself at the expense of his best friend. With Drew's testimony, the case against Jason began to unravel. The gun found in his toolbox was revealed to have been planted by Victor, who had access to Jason's workshop. The neighbor's testimony was discredited, and new evidence pointed to Victor as the real killer. In a stunning turn of events, Victor was arrested and charged with Cyrus's murder. Redemption and reconciliation. Jason was exonerated and released from prison, but the years he had lost could never be regained. His friendship with Drew was irreparably damaged, though they both knew that the bond they had once shared could never be completely broken. Drew's betrayal had cost Jason his freedom, but it had also taught them both the importance of honesty and the consequences of silence. In the end, the case of Cyrus Blackwood's murder became a cautionary tale for the people of Willow Creek. It was a reminder that justice is not always black and white, and that the truth can sometimes be buried beneath layers of fear and deceit. For Jason and Drew, it was a painful lesson in the cost of loyalty and the power of redemption. How will Sonny's clean bill of health change his plans back home? For months, fans of General Hospital have been on the edge of their seats, waiting for updates on Sonny Corinthos' health. The beloved mob boss, played by Maurice Bernard, has had his fair share of medical scares, from amnesia to bipolar disorder challenges, gunshot wounds, and near-death experiences. However, recent developments have brought him some good news: a clean bill of health. But what does this mean for his future in Port Charles? How will this newfound stability influence his relationships, his business, and the looming threats against him? Let's explore the possible ramifications of Sonny's good health and what it could mean for his life moving forward. Sonny's new outlook on life. A clean bill of health means Sonny can finally move forward without the weight of medical uncertainty. Throughout his life, his health has dictated many of his decisions, especially his struggles with bipolar disorder. Now that his condition is under control, he might see this as an opportunity to focus more on his personal and professional aspirations. Could this newfound clarity inspire Sonny to take his life in a different direction, perhaps even stepping away from the mob world that has defined him for so long? How it affects his family and loved ones. Sonny's relationships have been tumultuous, to say the least. His health struggles have often put a strain on those closest to him, particularly Carly Spencer, his children, and even Nina Reeves. Now that he's healthier than ever, will he try to repair broken relationships or move on in a new direction? Carly and Sonny. A fresh start? 4 years, Sonny and Carly have been each other's constant. Their relationship has endured affairs, betrayals, divorces, and reconciliations. However, Sonny's recent decisions, particularly marrying Nina, caused an irreparable rift between him and Carly. Now that he is healthy, will he realize that Carly was always his true partner? Will he attempt to rebuild what was lost, or is that chapter closed for good? Sonny and Nina. Stronger than ever or falling apart? His marriage to Nina has been a controversial topic among GH fans. With his health no longer a pressing concern, will Sonny be more present in their relationship, or will he begin to see things in a different light? Nina's deception regarding Carly and Drew's SEC issues could resurface, causing tension between the newlyweds. Could Sonny's mental clarity make him rethink his commitment to Nina? A renewed bond with his children?